Not in a creepy way. It's really nice. Yes. A little bit of a travel stolen doors down. There's some security issues.
74 engineers in 1957 turn into 189,000 alumni 6 decades later. Our alumni have changed the world. Beyond innovation, we continue to rise and grow on the strength of new generations of visionaries. Imagine what they'll do in the next 60.
Good morning, everyone. Yes. Thank you very much. It is great to see all of you in the room at this President's Town Hall. My name is Sandra Banks, and I am honored to serve as Vice President, University Relations here at the University of Waterloo, but also as your MC for this morning. So welcome. First, let me acknowledge that the University of Waterloo is located on the traditional territory of the neutral Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee peoples. The University of Waterloo is situated on the Haldimand Tract, the land promised to the Six Nations that includes 10 kilometers on each side of the Grand River. I'm pleased to say that we come together this morning from several different venues. Welcome to the students, faculty, and staff members that have joined us in Fed Hall, and I must say it looks like a sold-out crowd this morning. Thanks again for being here in person. We're also joined by other members of the Waterloo community who are participating in the live streaming of this morning's event. So whether you're out there or in here, we are very glad that you have joined us this morning. This town hall is an excellent opportunity for the campus community to discuss both the current and future state of the University of Waterloo with our President, Feridun Hamdullahpur. I'm looking forward to this morning's presentation and the opportunity for a full conversation and open dialogue. Shortly, I will be inviting our President and Vice-chancellor to the podium to share both our collective successes over the past year as well as hear how he will help us navigate our way forward through the future. But first, a word about the agenda and the format for this morning's presentations. We will, of course, begin with the presentation from the President, followed by a full discussion period. We're also delighted to showcase and be the first to hear the winning submission for the Celebration 2017 Legacy Project. We have with us, I believe, in the room this morning, the 4 finalist student teams who participated in that competition. And then following the town hall, you are all invited, those of you in the room, others as well, if you can get here on time, to join us for lunch at the close of the town hall so that we can enjoy a meal together as well as company and good conversation. I should also point out that we are launching this morning the President's Report, which is either in your hands or available to you as you leave this morning. We should also note that the State of the University President's Report will also be available online very shortly. So we encourage you to go and have a look. And now, without any further delay, I'd like to introduce with great pride our President and Vice-Chancellor, Feridun Hamdullahpur, to lead us through the Town Hall.
Thank you, Sandra, and good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for watching us online. A big welcome to the members of our University of Waterloo family. Your presence here is very important to me because this is, again, a great opportunity for me to have this very informal conversation with you. It is a conversation. It is informal. I don't have my jacket on. But also to learn from you, from your thoughts and observations as we move forward. To do that, allow me just to go through very briefly of where we are today, what has happened since last year, and what are we doing to move our institution forward. So I'm really delighted with the opportunity to have this exchange with you. Being so technologically advanced, we have also developed a very advanced technology. Every time I move my finger, as you will see, that the slides will advance, okay? A very creative University of Waterloo innovation, and more to come. So, as Sandra mentioned, we were very busy this year. We started early in this year with a big bang and letting the whole world know that this was our 60th anniversary, 60 years of University of Waterloo's tremendous contributions and presence. And we have done this on various occasions here on our campus and various places around the world. And made us extremely proud that we could celebrate this fantastic achievement and let the whole world know about where we stood. Doing that, however, we also acknowledge that there were a number of very important events that we do them year after year, but they don't become routine for us. Each and every one of them, they mean something very special each year. So this year, we welcomed a record number of new students on our campus. To be precise, about over 8,700. These students wanted to come here. They start their careers, they wanted to start their education here, so we were delighted to welcome. And we will never get comfortable or complacent that we have this big magnet here and we're attracting these students. We will make sure that our university will stay on top of the innovation curve and make every single student, not just here in Ontario or in Canada, but around the world wanting to come here and benefit from the great scholarship and education here on our campus. At the same time, we welcome those who graduated from here and wanted to come back and be part of this, again, celebration. So this year, our reunion saw a record number of attendees and activities. I was so proud to have them back on our campus. If you will recall, last year there was a question saying, what do you foresee happening in the next 60 years? And some of you will recall, I said, I want a really great win by our football team. I thank them for making it happen. And we were very proud to see their accomplishment. And again, I want to thank all of our student athletes doing some fabulous things there, being so successful in their studies, at the same time making us very proud in what they do in their athletics activities. And further on, of course, as we see you coming here, going through this institution year after year, there is nothing more rewarding than watching you graduating at convocation. And we had our convocation twice in June and in October or November. And it was fabulous to see so many of them graduating from here with tremendous pride and sense of accomplishment. More so, they were so excited entering into their future lives with their University of Waterloo degree behind them. So, next thing we want to recognize is that this is our last year. Next year will be the last year, 2008, of our current strategic plan. And in all 8 categories, those of you who attended a number of town halls will recognize that we have made significant achievements there. Our achievements, the targets, the goals we set, we've not only have we met them, we have surpassed many of them. And this will enable us to enter into our next level of conversation as I proceed through my presentation, that what it is that we want to build on top of all these accomplishments that we have been able to do over the past 4 years. So, let me touch on a couple of quick things. This year, we opened a brand new residence building, 439 beds. This was after how many years, Chris? 15 years. So it's not just a building that we opened. This is a brand new residence building that is built in recognition of serving our students better, enabling them to learn better, and I could not think of a better place on our campus that will help them to achieve their goals and objectives. At the same time, we were able to open our Heggie Hall hub. Those of you who haven't been in there, please take a couple of minutes, walk through it. You will see unbelievable buzz and energy. And every time I walk through there, it tells me that it was worth every penny, every minute we spent on building this Heggie Hall hub extension. And one day, I'm going to invite you for the inaugural elevator ride in that building when it's done. So, let me share a few quick thoughts as to where we are, what have we accomplished. So let me share with you a selected number of key performance indicators that is telling us that this institution is not only firing on all cylinders, it is doing it with the highest octane fuel, with no carbon in it. It's all hydrogen, okay? So, if you look at our retention rate, I selected these because they mean something. This is the retention rate from first year to second year. This is a record high number in our history. This is one of the highest retention numbers in this country. And those of you who will recall our early conversations when this number was around 88%, that our determination to make sure that our students are succeeding in many ways. We are providing them with academic and non-academic support by, however, not lowering, not even just a little tiny bit of our academic standards. And this is the beautiful picture we see here, how successful they have been. Co-op is, needless to say, is one of the pillars, if not the main pillar of this institution. And we could not, again, it's another thing that we cannot take for granted. The number of students studying in co-op disciplines is important to us. And this is, again, the net increase of 4.9% number of students in co-op programs is a major, major accomplishment for us. Again, I'm just going to go through this quite quickly, but the last one you see here, the study space, again, is part of our commitment to our students that we wanted to increase study space. What could be more important to myself and my decanal colleagues here, or vice president colleagues here sitting, our students wanting more space to study. And this is, again, I'm really happy that we were able to increase that space by 18%, and we're not going to stop there. There will be more, hopefully, when the Student Life Center, again, that comes stream, and some other buildings, we will be adding many more. And as we add more, I'd like to keep hearing that students will say, we, however, need more study space, and this will be a fantastic challenge for us. So, on the other hand, we are extremely proud of the presence and impact of research and scholarship coming out of our institution. If I wanted to give you a quick rundown just what happened last year, I will have to keep you here all morning. Fantastic accomplishments by our researchers, by their graduate students in terms of dissemination of their results, commercialization of their results, and how it is impacting our society, how it's impacting our social life, economy, and prosperity of our country. We are one of the few universities, if not one of the top 2, 3, that we constantly add new faculty positions. Not only do we replace faculty positions, we constantly add net new faculty positions. We're going to keep doing this as long as we have the resources. And I have said this over and over again, if I have left $1 single left in my pocket, this is the place where I will spend it. Keep hiring excellent faculty members because it makes a difference. It makes a difference in the life of our institution. It makes a difference in the quality of education we provide to our students. It makes a difference how their scholarship is used in various forms. So we're going to do that. At the same time, I'm also very proud that we are increasing the number of our staff members. We do have this standard universal ratio of 2%, and over the past couple of years, we have been able to keep our ratio above 2% at 2.1. And again, another pleasant piece of news that we have been able to increase our operating revenues. So these are few of our bragging points. So let me, however, talk about something that concerns me, something that concerns my colleagues. And what you see on the screen is not something that I will say, look, we are doing a good job here. But doing a good job is not good enough for this institution. We have to be doing a great job. I hear this from our students. We heard this from our students through various surveys, but most recently and importantly from NESI survey, that we have a lot more work to do in these areas. I'm sorry, I mixed it up. Did I miss a slide, or this is the next one? Okay, the bragging is not over yet. Okay, erase what I said. This is too small, I can't see. You are also, many of you are interested in where we stand nationally and globally in terms of how we rank in comparison to other institutions. So I'm going to talk about McLean's first. And you've probably heard this many, many times. Some of you heard this 26 years in a row, because 26 years in a row, this magazine selected our institution as the most innovative in this country. Last year, you will remember I said quarter of a century. I can't use this anymore because it is 26 years now, and it's not an accident. And not only is this fabulous for us, it also says that we are blessed to have the highest average entry mark in this country. This is our young, humble, unassuming university, attracting absolutely the best and the brightest, not only in this country, but from around the world. And if this is not making your chest go up and be so proud, I don't know what else will be. But this is fantastic. And there are many, many more. In terms of our research competency and successes and strengths, Research InfoSource, again, this is the only Canadian, arm's-length Canadian institution that ranks research universities. And this is the 10th year in a row that we are selected as the Research University of the Year. It is not an accident. It is there. It is done because of what we have here, what's happening here. The international rankings, Times Higher Education's, QS, ARWU, the Shanghai ranking, they are all, if you look at them, you won't see a lot of fluctuations, little ups and downs. It's normal. And our objectives are long-term. We don't have in our short history any Nobel Prize winners, nor do I see that it's going to happen in the next 2-3 years, but I'm hoping that will happen nevertheless. But if you look at their disciplinary rankings, we had this in our history, that we have over, I can't recall exact number, but huge number, largest number that I call in the top 50, top 100, among thousands of universities. Programs like Recreation and Leisure Studies, number 13 in the world, number 1 in Canada. This is a huge accomplishment. If you go to US News and World Report, engineering and computer science ranked number 1 ahead of every single university in this country, and they are one of the top 20 in the world. So these are significant acknowledgement of our excellence in these areas. And these are just a few examples. There are so many that are ranked those areas. What do we do? Do we really kill ourselves? Do we really worry that we want to be recognized as one of the top 5 universities in the world? Those spots there are taken by some giants. And as some of my EC colleagues will recall, that said, we invented a word called Harvardization. We're not going to try to imitate Harvard here. We are putting our own very unique mark here, and this is what we're going to follow. PitchBook it is a fantastic resource to understand and acknowledge the brilliance of entrepreneurship. And we are, again, ranked very highly among some of the top institutions in the world in terms of how entrepreneurship is conducted here. And I'm really, really proud that Marilyn and her colleagues were able to participate and celebrate in Toronto last week. Again, second year in a row, our institution is selected, was one of the top 100 organizations in Canada. So these are significant achievements, accomplishments. We report these here and there, and I think it's really important to acknowledge them collectively, that something very important, something very unique, something very exciting happening here. And these are, I cannot find a better way of indicating how others are seeing those very important qualities. This is the one I was talking about. Having said all of these, here are some of the concerns. We are doing a good job. It's not good enough doing a good job. Not in our standards. We have to do a much better job. We have to do absolutely great jobs here. This is doing a good job in those areas is not congruent with who we are, with our DNA. So this is something that we will be having many more conversations, and something that I'm going to touch on. But I couldn't go on without acknowledging that while I'm giving you a very exciting, important picture, however, there are some issues that we need to pay more attention, and we will be paying a lot more attention to those things. For example, higher order of learning strategies. We need to understand that while we have brilliant students, we have brilliant professors, we have our DNA, we have our innovative entrepreneurial culture, we have our very inquisitive minds here, why can't we enter into a much higher order learning strategies that we will be much, much, much ahead of the curve in those areas. So this will be occupying, as I will touch on a little later, a good chunk of our time as we're moving forward. Last year, during our question period, I was asked about the university's strategy, university's attitude towards indigenization, and what it is that we wanted to see in place. And my answer was, I don't have a really good answer to give you right now. However, I didn't want it to be just, look, we're doing this, we're doing that, that should be good enough. First thing we did was to how we could establish a long-term and very broad and in-depth approach here. So I was very pleased to appoint Professor Diana Perry, our Associate Vice President, to chair our steering committee. And the steering committee has done a marvelous job in completely dissecting this and identifying 5 key areas that will give us the depth and breadth in establishing a significant presence in our approach in indigenization. And they have done a great deal of work, and I'm really, really looking forward to receiving their final report and recommendations that we can implement in all these 5 areas. The other question was about student mental health. As we went through the year, there were a number of occasions that this subject became even more and more important. So I'm grateful that both Walter and Chris, they took the leadership in putting together an advisory committee to me, and they have been working diligently, nonstop, and they have made significant progress. Again, I'm looking forward to receiving their report. Those are 2 areas, just 2 areas among many that I'm really pleased that over the past year we have made significant accomplishments. Now, from here on, we're going to move forward. Going forward requires creating change. In doing that, there are 2 ways of looking at it. One is, look, I just painted you a really exciting, really great picture. And you will see that we have everything that is required here. Fundamentally, we are solid. I won't dispute that. that so what we could consider our progress, steady state progress, that year after year we will add more, we will tweak this, we will fix that, and we will move forward? Or is it time for us to think more courageously? Is it time for us to think of some radical changes and creating a different environment, different standards, different place? I'm not saying that either one of them is the best solution. Maybe there is something in between. But nevertheless, this is the question that I have been asking myself. And how do we find the right question or the right answer? Or the answer that is as close as we get to become the right answer? Will there be something in between the two? To do that, we have to look at our institution and our world from a little distance. And as I'm doing this, I have come across to this great statement. I had the pleasure of meeting Duderstadt many years ago, and this says it all. That right now, what's happening here, the challenges, social, environmental, the complexity behind those is we have never, ever seen anything like this. So it is not steady state at all. Over the past decade and a half, some remarkable things happened. They're still happening. And we cannot just say that, look, they are part of normal routine happenings, and therefore we will stay with option number one. This is telling me that we need to think beyond our normal ways, because the changes that have taken place, the opportunities, but at the same time, the challenges that we have in front of us, they are of unimaginable scale. And our institution should not and will not try to run like crazy and try to catch up with those things. How can we do our planning? How can we think strategically that we will be way ahead of this, or we will be ahead of this at least by a significant margin, that we are in a leadership position? So, wrong finger, sorry. To move forward, I think it's important for us to discuss some facts and figures and values. So I have them in two separate blocks. The first one talks about, I call them the untouchables. Regardless of which option we take, regardless of which century we exist, regardless of what we do, these are fundamental. These are deeply engraved in our soul. These are deeply engraved in our DNA, that I cannot think of our institution moving forward without any one of these being part of us. Of course, the first one is our autonomy as an institution, our academic freedom, the freedom of expression of every single member of our campus community. These are very important. They are not negotiable, and there is no 99% of these. They have to be 100%. We have to have, however, strong and impartial public governance, and many more that you can see. These are very specific. Some of them are universal values for any academic institution, or should be universal values and principles of any academic institution. But some of them are very unique to us, the transformative nature of us. And the last point is, we want to be in a leadership position. We don't want to imitate any other institution. We are an institution of our own creation, and this is how we want to move forward. However, moving forward then, there are some excuse me, questions that we need to answer properly. And this is not either or question, this is an and question, that we want to be technologically sophisticated. What does that mean? Translation is, we want to be able to use the technology, create the technology, our own unique technology, to offer it to our campus community, but mostly to our students and people who are here, who are eager to learn and learn deeper and better. Offer it to them. But at the same time, while this is happening, by maximizing our utilization of technology, we want to make sure that we are depending on our community here. We are not an electronic community. We are a very physical, we are a very emotional, we are a very well-connected community here. Is it possible? This is one of our questions, but to me, in my mind, it is not an either or, it has to happen simultaneously, so it's an and question. We are a very research-intensive institution. We said it many times, but we didn't pause for a second to really, really take it in. In our 60 years of existence, this university surpassed the 200 million research income threshold. Last year, as you saw the slide before, we had $205 million of research income. This is huge for our institution, both historically and compared to the other institutions in this country. A university with no come from medical research and other places. This is very intensive. So we pay a lot of attention. I do not foresee our institution moving forward without further increasing its research intensity. That doesn't mean that we cannot also be a student-centered and learning-focused institution. And this is what I want to see happening simultaneously, why we are putting tremendous efforts and resources into the research excellence. We should be doing exactly the same in teaching and learning and excellence in our classrooms and outside of classrooms. So this is, to me, again, not an either-or question, and those institutions who will choose one or the other, I don't think that they will be answering those challenges that I mentioned to you. We have to pay significant attention to private resources. These are the facts of life. I cannot stand here and say that I will make all these things happening and I will make sure that the governments will support us, governments will provide us with the resources we need. That will be not only a fatal dream, it will be irresponsible of me to begin with and everybody else to base everything on that. Currently, we're grateful for the 32% of the financial resources we get from the government of Ontario specifically for our operating grant. So you imagine where the rest is coming from. So we need to make sure that we have increasing private support, but at the same time, we have to be very accountable. And as you will see, again, we need to make sure that while we're doing this on one hand, the other hand, our academic freedom or our accountability of that one will have to remain intact. The last two ones, I think we will be talking about these quite often, a lot more. This is a very close-knit community. On our campus, outside of campus, this institution is the creation of our community. So we are deeply rooted in our community. At the same time, however, we want to be very international. We want to reach out to every single corner of the world and make sure that we are establishing some very meaningful, very good partnerships with institutions of a similar attitude and similar concerns and aspirations. We're doing that. This morning I had the pleasure of meeting with president of a Chinese university from Nanjing, and they're here. They could go anywhere in the world and establish these partnerships. They're here because of the chemistry, because of the excellence that we present here, and those are the kind of things as I want to see our entire community, our faculty, our staff, our students enjoying by further internationalizing our institution. And the last one is we rise above our disciplinary limitations. I chose this carefully because I am very proud of our disciplinary accomplishments. As I said, look how the world sees some excellent programs and academic progress here. It's fabulous. However, each discipline has its own limitations. The way we go above or beyond those limitations is bringing those disciplines together that will have natural tendency of coming together. And we will be looking at those tendencies and see how we can rise above our disciplinary limitations. And finally, I want to come back to, among so many things that I could be talking about in my very short 20 minutes here, I want to finalize my presentation with this. And again, this is from a colleague, president of MIT. And I don't need to tell you how research intensive MIT is, but at the same time, their focus is on teaching and learning. And I love this expression that he said, if we don't know how we learn, how on earth do we know how to teach? And I will keep reminding to myself as we move forward that we can meet those 5 concerns that I outlined. How can we make the University of Waterloo an institution that is one of the key institutions in moving Canada forward, in making sure that we are an integral and essential part of our future economy, future social fabric, future technological advancements, and a bastion of democracy in this country and around the world. I thank you so much for your attention, and I'm really looking forward to, now you heard me, it's my turn to hear from you and have this conversation. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Feridun, and thank you as well for your attention. I really
It's
enjoyed.
just water, it's not coffee.
I really enjoyed the presentation. I'm sure our audience here and online did as well, especially set against the backdrop of our 60th anniversary, but very much connected to our current strategic plan and the progress we're making. But I certainly appreciated hearing your perspectives, not just on the challenges, but the priorities we should consider as we move forward. So thank you for that. Let me just remind everyone here how we will proceed with this question and answer session and the discussion period. We are happy to take questions from those of you who have assembled here in Fed Hall. We will ask you to let us know with an arm or by standing up. We'll get a microphone to you, because we would like the entire audience to hear your question as well as the answer. We're also very open to receiving questions over our digital and social channels. And so if you are on Twitter and you would like to send a question, please use the hashtag UWTH. If you would prefer to send an email via, a question via email, the address is townhall@uwaterloo.ca. And for those of you that are watching the live stream, you'll note that there's a live comment box on the right-hand side. Please feel free to submit a question that way as well. In addition to those 3 options, some of you or others have submitted questions in advance. I will get to as many of those as I can, but please be assured that if we don't get to all the questions that come forward today, we are committed to providing feedback and answers, and we'll be posting those on the President's Town Hall website, so you can check in with that if we're not able to get to your question today, but we have allotted a good amount of time, and we'll do our very best. So, Feridun, you mentioned when we were gathering together last year that we asked you for a prediction. In fact, we asked everyone that gathered for a prediction for the next 60 years, given that we were kicking off our 60th anniversary celebrations. And you did, we asked you what your prediction for the next 60 would be, and you reminded us of that, but I have to repeat it because there was something in it. You said, my prediction in the next 60 years is that our football team will win a championship. And I think we should all make note of the fact that our football warriors took that prediction to heart. And in fact, they played Waterloo's best season in over a decade with a 4-4 record. So I think we have a question from the other warrior teams, if you have any predictions for them, given your prescience and good fortune so far.
Same prediction applies to all of them. So.
Wonderful. We thought you might say that. So I'm going to actually take one question that we received in advance, and then we'll throw it back to the audience here. But we did have several questions about our strategic plan, because we know our colleagues, associates, staff, faculty take it very seriously. And the question that we assembled from several that came in was this one. What will be the time period and process for the next strategic plan, and will it take into account the fact that we also have a campus master plan? Will it take into account and update that as well?
So our current strategic plan, as I mentioned, is a 5-year plan, and next year is the last year of this plan. When we embarked upon the current strategic plan planning exercise, I wanted to make it very clear, first to myself and then to everybody else, that we didn't want to create a document that we will say, well, here is a check mark, we have a strategic plan, we'll put it on the shelf and we will move on. I want it to be a living document. I want it to be a guiding document. I wanted it to be a document that will enable us not just to see the future a little bit better and make sure that we are heading in the right direction, also put proper resources in place and put a huge accountability framework so that we will be able to come back to our participants who participated and took huge ownership of the current plan, that we are implementing what we said that we would, and we are making progress. Same thing applies for the next strategic plan. We want to take a little bit of time in between the two. Nothing is going to happen in between the two periods, but our next strategic plan is going to start in 2020 for another 5-year period. During that time, we want as much participation, as much learning, as much really strategic thinking that will go into this plan and make it, again, a full campus plan that everybody who cares about this institution, our students, our staff, faculty, our alumni, everybody will have participated in the exercise. So in between, our current plan, of course, has so many things that some of them will progress into the next one. We will use the current plan as the intermediary one. But the excitement for the next one is it will enable us to have many conversations like this and input. Campus master plan is also important. Talk about our brilliant faculty, brilliant staff, brilliant students. We need brilliant facilities to make sure that our campus is an environmentally responsible campus. However, it's a really dynamic, pleasant, progressive campus, and that requires planning. Master plan will have to respond to the aspirations and needs of the strategic plan. Normally, master plans at any university, they are reviewed every, hold on to your seats, 20 years, okay? We are making sure that our master plan is a lot more dynamic, and as we make progress in our strategic planning thinking, we will be looking at our master plan as well.
Thank you, Feridun. So beginning mid to later 2018, the consultations for the next strategic plan will begin. Thank you for that. So I'm looking at the audience. I'm wondering if there's any questions that may be coming forward or formulating as we speak. I see an arm going up. Can we have a microphone over to John, please? And I see another one there.
Thank you, Feridun, for a very visionary presentation. And I take from your presentation that it is your view that Waterloo should aspire to be a leader in research, on the cutting edge in research, that's recognized worldwide. And similarly, that the teaching that we do be at the leading edge. And so I pose to you a concern, and it has to do with faculty and faculty workloads. I think it's fair to posit that to be on the leading edge in research these days is a full-time job. One could also posit that being on the leading edge of teaching these days is a full-time job, in part because of the technology that we have, and also because of the expectations of students. They want to engage with faculty more than they ever have before. And so we're in a bit of a conundrum. And I wonder if it would be appropriate for the university to consider differential workloads for faculty to a greater extent than we have so far. You know, if you're a professor, you have to profess, and that means you have to teach. But the notion of having equal teaching loads and equal research loads across the system, I wonder if that's sustainable going forward, given our aspirations and given your aspirations.
So John, very appropriate question, of course, and you took my words that I was going to use. The combination of two makes us professors. This is our life. We do both, and all I'm saying is, can we provide an environment and proper resources and support that we could excel in both? Because what I don't foresee us going forward is, here is the research silo, here is the teaching and learning silo, and they operate, they exist in their own spheres. I want them to come together. Every single student here, while they're going through presence, they must feel the presence of immense research and scholarship at this institution, integrated, combined their education. I want research to be informed by the presence of our students. So can it be done? In my opinion, it can be done. But I also understand the challenges forward. The way we could do this is how we provide the proper support and resources right from day one for a faculty member as to how can we become a lot more comfortable, confident in our presence in interacting with students, either in the classroom, outside of the classroom. This is part of, again, a big questions that we will talk about. At the same time, you will continue, you will excel in your scholarship and research, and you won't think that you're doing two separate things. In terms of time commitments, I think we are, again, every single person in a research-intensive university faces that question. There will be variations of those. I can't tell you exactly what it will be, but this will constitute part of our future conversations. But I will make it abundantly clear that we will not compromise on our research intensity. This is essential, but at the same time, this university will continue and will increase its focus on teaching and learning and its focus on our students, both undergraduate and graduate.
Thank you, Feridun. And thank you, John, for helping kick off our questions. We will take one more question from Fed Hall before we turn it over to social and digital. I see a question. Please go ahead.
Okay. Thank you so much. I am really inspired by the University of Waterloo. I'm a PhD student here. I've been studying here since 2009 when I started my undergrad, and I keep coming back because I truly believe in this school. In 2015, I completed my master's thesis on the impact of stranded assets, the carbon budget, and divestment on the fossil fuel sector. Since we've conducted a lot of research on the topic, and it seems that there's a clear indication that investing in fossil fuels is a bad financial case. I know the university has put together a task force about 2 years ago, but little has been publicized since then. And what I want to ask particularly is how my research can be used by the university.
Thank you. You're correct. There's a task force, and this task force has been working diligently. Sometimes I feel that it's a little bit slow, not purposely because we want to make sure that the consultation process is intact and we are consulting with the stakeholder. And then sometimes the progress is pretty good. I'm hoping that we will accelerate our next stage of consultation. There were 2 rounds of consultations, and we will more, and then board will receive recommendations. The 3rd round, Dennis Huber and Dean Jean Endry, they're there. Make sure that you please let them know to incorporate your research and your studies into that one. Thank you for offering it.
Thank you for the answer. Thank you very much for the question. Also could acknowledge other students who are here today with a more silent message, but we certainly acknowledge that. And while we do that, I'm going to invite Kelly McManus our Senior Director of Community Relations, just to give us an update on what is happening in terms of questions and interest on social media.
Thank you, Sandra. I know there's a number of questions coming in both through the town hall at uwaterloo.ca email address and at UWTH on Twitter. So keep the questions coming. One for you now, Feridun. Someone is asking if you could please speak to the university's vision around online education.
Again, as I mentioned, can we be technologically sophisticated and also be very present? Online education, many years ago, not many years ago, a few years back, when Coursera's and all the others were flying around and the whole world was saying that we won't need buildings anymore, everybody can get their education online, we said, not really. But at the same time, we didn't say that we're denying a huge importance and impact of online component of education. So we will see online. Sometimes there are certain programs that it makes sense to offer them fully online. There are programs that it doesn't make any sense at all, but it could be an integral and important part of this. We're moving forward as our, although is there, as our center is more participating in more online offerings. I believe we have some numbers that we could be very proud of in terms of how many online courses or course offerings we have. Can you share those numbers, Aldo? Sorry, just, yeah.
Do you want to just let us know who you are?
Thank you. Aldo Caputo from the Center for Extended Learning. Thank you, Feridun. Yes, we have about 400 courses in our catalog, and usually in a given year there's about 500 offerings of those online courses. To the specific question about online learning, I would say that I think there was a recent article that came out that suggested that online learning plays a big factor in student success. So the flexibility that our students demand is in part accomplished by the availability of online courses. So having a certain mix of online courses and on-campus courses certainly contributes to that student success that you were talking about earlier, Feridun. So,
yeah, thank you. I mean, just to add to that one, thanks, Aldo. We're going to, I can assure you that we're going to increase the number. We don't want just offer courses, hey, just do it online. It takes a lot of time and effort and resources to build those, and we will do it properly and responsibly. Or at least my view that I'm sharing with my colleagues moving forward, incorporates a lot of technological online resources, but doesn't eliminate the physical one presence in classrooms, flipped classrooms and some other learning innovations will be something that we will be following very closely and hopefully implementing, thanks to our ability to offer a lot of courses online.
Thanks, Feridun. Thank you, Aldo, for helping out with that. Kelly, I'll come back to you in just a minute. I have one question that we received in advance, and I think it summarizes an undercurrent of much of the conversation today. It's about change. And the question is this. The University of Waterloo has been named Canada's most innovative university for 26 years. How do we ensure that all faculties and academic support units fully embrace change and contribute to our university's legacy as the most innovative university today and in the future?
I tried to touch on it. For me, change is a natural process here. We understand very clearly, especially at the University of Waterloo, that we can't just sit still. We can't just sit back and say, can't you see this great picture? Let's enjoy it. No, we are not complacent, and we do not enjoy the status quo. So change is a natural process here, but at the same time, in certain areas, it requires a little cultural changes in how we see things. For example, going back to John's question, how do we bring gradually built on our brilliant, beautiful culture here at the University of Waterloo, a new version of it, a different one that is informed by our existing culture that will enable us to implement change. So I think we have everything. We have brilliant minds here, and I really don't want to use this as a cliche expression. We do have brilliant minds here from our faculty, our staff members, our students. So if change is not happening here, it will not happen anywhere in the world. So this is something that we'll embrace. Our challenge is, can we be the leader? Can we be a leader in bringing these changes forward and implementing them? That is the question, is how fast can we get there in a really mature, sustainable way? So this is what I see as change, as a challenge, but change is happening here. It has happened over, just close your eyes and think back 5 years and you will see a lot of things how they change. How do we accelerate this in a meaningful way? That will be our challenge.
Very good, thank you. It's interesting also perhaps to note that when we hear feedback from our colleagues across campus, whether in faculty or academic support units, especially through a recent engagement survey, they also identify that one of their key priorities is stronger, more enabled collaboration across all of our organizations.
Thank you for making that point. It's, we just heard the summary of this from Marilyn yesterday morning, and it is beautifully, tremendously exciting as to how our campus community, our faculty and staff members, they are saying that they want to be part of this. They want to enable and trigger that change. So I asked George and Marilyn to host a separate town hall as quickly as we can. Probably will have to be after Christmas, but to inform our campus community of what we've learned, the eagerness and desire to be part of that change, and also get further input. So I'm looking forward to that town hall, Marilyn. We will inform you when that will take place.
Great initiative, thank you. Now I'm looking at the audience here, and we do have a few hands. I'll go to this side. We'll come back to the middle here next. Thanks very much. Thanks, Jane.
Thank you so much for all the really interesting information that you've presented so far. It's great to see how much improvement the university's been making. I've been involved with the university on and off, students, staff, what have you, since the late 90s. So to see it every time you come on campus, there's new buildings springing up. It's nice to see all that growth. My question, though, pertains to the arts specifically, because it's hard to be on the arts side of campus and you see everything popping up on the, quote, other side of campus. You'd mentioned at the beginning with your speech that there are some changes coming forth in terms of more expansion, more study space, and that sort of thing. Do you have any details yet about the arts in terms of more space, more expansion, modern languages, for example? Arts Lecture Hall are very aging buildings. Is there anything in there yet that's been decided?
I don't think that I can give you specific initiatives that will take place, but let me make a very important statement here. Though I'm asked this question quite often as to where do I see Faculty of Arts fitting into future plans of this university. This university is not moving forward an inch without absolutely the best and the strongest arts faculty. It is part of our existence. I cannot see an excellent Faculty of Arts together with other 5 excellent faculties. So this is a very unambiguous statement from me and from the university. However, moving forward, as we are entering into our strategic planning, every single faculty, they are entering into their strategic planning process in tandem with the university. So we will be seeing a lot of these kind of things from each faculty as to how they see themselves moving forward and how the university can embrace all of them and make sure that the university is moving forward as a whole. Art is an integral and an essential part of that process.
Great, thank you. Now, Alyssa, if you could help get the mic. Go ahead, please.
I'm Michael Hertz, past president of the Staff Association. Thank you, Feridun, for that talk. I'm glad I came today. Every time I hear you talk, you fill up my University of Waterloo pride reservoir. You can quote that if you want. In my dealings with the Staff Association of recent years, I've had to deal with many people's mental health issues, and a lot of them have been very tough. You know, you talked about student mental health issues in your talk, and I'm very glad the university's placing a focus on that, especially because I now have two of my own children here, and that's good. But I see issues for employees, and I've seen lots of areas where I think we could do a lot better. And if there was a focus that our university could have, striving for excellence, I think that's one of the areas, because employees' mental health, I think, if that's up there, everything else you're asking for and looking for will follow. So I just wondered if you could talk about what the university is doing for employees' mental health. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. It is, again, a very critical issue to us. I have been meeting with different groups, faculty, staff, students, and I meet with small groups of maximum 8 people, but I call them roundtables to hear from them about anything that I should know, anything that they want to ask me directly, but what are the things that I need to learn from them directly through those interactions? I hear about this. I hear, however, with a sense that there is something, they're not alone, whether they're students or staff members. There is, first of all, recognition of mental health challenges that anybody can encounter. And how does the university first acknowledge that? And second, how do we provide with a proper support system, either through counseling and other venues, that we can try to properly address that. So we put in place a certain mechanism that is available to our staff members 24/7, for example, should there be in need of support for mental health and other challenges. And we will continuously monitor, see what kind of effect this will having. All I can tell you right now, without getting into too many details, that we do recognize it, and we don't, again, foresee us moving forward without properly and adequately trying to address those issues. Marilyn, anything you want to add to that one?
The mic's coming.
Thank you, Feridun, and thank you, Mike, for the question. We've just completed the first year in an externally provided employee and family assistance program. So we're looking at that 1-year report and to see what we can do to enhance the services that are provided there. But I also want to put a plug in for the Staff Association, in that any staff member, any faculty member that has a suggestion on how we might be able to put mechanisms in place for a healthy workplace, go to the Staff Association website. We're always looking for proposals from staff so that we can be able to put the right supports in the right places that our staff and faculty believe that we need to for their workplace. So thanks.
Thank you, Marilyn. Kelly, we're going to have another question from our online participants.
Certainly, and lots of interest in sustainability, as you can expect. A question here from Twitter around those steps that the university will take to become a leader in sustainable urban design and active transportation planning.
Can you repeat the question one more time?
Sustainable urban design and active transportation planning.
We are, this is, again, as we go through our various aspects of our campus master plan and revising it at the same time. These are part of those considerations. Right now, we are dealing with at least a couple of really important but sensitive issues in terms of transportation. My first and foremost concern there is safety of predominantly of our students on our campus, while we have practical, appropriate transportation mechanism on our campus. We are going through various conversations, and I hope that at the end we will reach a position that will address all of our concerns, at the same time making sure that whatever we have is quite compliant with our environmental concerns, but at the same time providing adequate transportation to our campus members, community members.
Thank you, Kelly. Okay, so we are just lighting up here now with questions. I appreciate that. So I see a couple of questions over here. Can I have a mic perhaps to the second row? Yep, that looks very good. Thank you.
Michelle. So my questions are about data and data management. So I think it's fair to say that at this point in time, really what sets any organization apart, any university apart, is data. It's the way that we're able to leverage that to give us a strategic advantage, the way we're able to dig into things. So I'm curious if you can kind of give me a sense of, maybe on a scale of 1 to 10 or whatever works for you, sort of who we're looking to as a model for what a 10 looks like. What is good in our minds in terms of data management, and then sort of where we're sitting right now on that scale. How much do we have to do to catch up to other institutions?
Can you clarify one thing for me? Your question is regarding our academic research aspect of data management, or our own institutional operational management of data?
I don't necessarily see a meaningful distinction. All data is valuable for everything, but I guess mostly on the administrative side of things, let's say.
Yeah. So my answer is, I don't think that there is a 10 existing anywhere, but we want to be that 10. And we want other institutions to look at us and say, well, this is how it's done at the University of Waterloo. I think we're starting with IST. Bruce, I'm looking at you, and various elements of our administration, how we organize it in a way that there is one place between IAP and IST. I'm using these acronyms that I'm hoping that everybody is familiar with, that we will establish that very significant database that will help us for our future planning of academic activities, to budget planning, to other areas. Do we have it in place? No. It is dispersed right now across the institution, but I am absolutely with you that we will be getting there at some point soon. I hope that we will have a central repository of everything from class sizes to how many cars enter the university, and quite comprehensive database for everyday life of our institution. Anything, Bruce, you want to add, or Alan? Is Alan here?
Sure. It's Bruce Campbell, Chief Information Officer. So in the recent development of the IST strategic plan in our consultations, data came up in every conversation. Our strategic plan will be released in about a month's time, and that will be identified as a priority. We do have within IST a group focused on information and identity and integration management, so it's a priority for us. The areas of data warehousing, analytics, and so on. And then at a greater scale, next year, I've started consultations with university leadership of developing an overarching digital strategy, which will include data and the adoption of digital technologies. So I think that'll be another opportunity to bring profile to this.
Thanks, Bruce.
Yes, thank you, Bruce. So I saw a question that was coming up on this side, right down the middle aisle. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here today. My name is Leslie Johnston. I'm a PhD candidate in the School of Public Health. And I'm also here with Fossil-Free UW. And obviously, there's been a number of questions to do with sustainability today. And I think any of us who listened to the news last night would have heard the top 3 stories who are mentioning NAFTA talks and the need to stop investing in coal, and not to mention the scientists' warning to humanity, which I think is a huge call for us all. But perhaps for me, the story that hit me most closely was the story coming out of India and the number of children who are dying with the deadly pollution that is being experienced right now. As a public health student, that's close to my heart. So I think as we think about the past 60 years, we're also contemplating our next 60 years and our responsibility to act collectively. We are a very privileged group here at the University of Waterloo and here in Canada, where we have some of the highest per capita emissions in the world. As a Center for Innovation and as the new UN Sustainable Development Solutions Network hub in Canada, I would like to ask, as we contemplate the next 60 years, what other actions can we take as globally engaged universities to be on the right side of history? So we've talked about divestment. We've had some questions about our own university researchers. We're happy to hear that you're interested in conducting more broad-scale public student engagement. Also want to draw your attention to the fact that there is a petition that's circulating where 500 students, faculty, and concerned communities members have signed asking for the university to divest as part of its ESG review. But I think often at this school, we sometimes tend to default to more tech-oriented solutions. And I'm asking us to think about how we can move beyond just tech-based solutions, but thinking about our collective social responsibility as citizens on this threatened planet. Thank you.
Thank you. You will find absolutely no disagreement whatsoever what you said. 100% we believe in what you said, and we can, again, as we are moving forward, our future is very important to us, to our children and generations to come. As I mentioned, university is looking at our investments very seriously. Right now, only 3.5% of our investments is in the energy sector, not fossil fuel, in overall energy sector. And the committee that is working diligently will come and tell us, go to zero, or these are the ones that are responsible, more environmentally responsible, and we will wait for that. Furthermore, Matt is sitting right there. His work, together with Jean and Dennis and the committee, has been phenomenally effective. We have, since his started, we have now Policy 53, that environmental sustainable policy. And we will not be just teaching and researching these. We are anxious to walk the talk. And we will be doing that. As I'm saying that as an academic, as a researcher who spent big chunks of his time in India and China bringing desulfurization and denoxing techniques and everything to reduce the impact of air, pollution and environmental aspects. This has been happening a long while. It has to, big chunk of it, the irresponsible use of energy resources, especially going to carbon. Carbon is one big thing, but it's not the only thing, is to make sure that we are utilizing our energy resources responsibly. We have to practice it right here on our campus. As we're moving forward, we are benefiting from Matt and his committee's work. We are benefiting from other areas. And I'm telling you the reason why we are so patient with the work of this committee, because it is not a really black and white and quick answer. And we want to make sure that our institution is doing it properly, that we're learning from this process, and what we're going to put in place will be a long-term thing that will be implemented here, not just one quick window dressing. I hope I addressed your question. If you want to continue this conversation, I will be more than happy to sit down and continue with you and anybody else who would like to.
Thank you, Feridun. Well, I have a very difficult task right now. I think we could continue this dialogue for minutes and hours ahead, but we do probably need to wrap up this discussion. I think the level of engagement and thoughtfulness and certainly passion in the questions that we've received today is very impressive, and we appreciate those questions. Feridun, thank you for being so thoughtful and fulsome in your answers, and it looks like you may want to just have one final comment before we wrap up.
Again, I couldn't thank you enough for being here. I couldn't thank you enough for your engagement and thoughtfulness. I am so proud to be able to stand in front of you and say, we're so proud of our institution. These are our accomplishments, but please don't stop here. We are going to places that will be so exciting. I couldn't even say a word of this had it not been for my colleagues here, George, our deans, and everybody, all my colleagues here. I thank them very much for being a fantastic team for the university, and you have our commitment. I hope that next year and the years following, we will be able to continue our conversations, and I will be able to stand in front of you again and say, well, this is what we've been able to do since last year, and I am very proud of where we are. I wouldn't be able to say these things had it not been for you and your unbelievably creative, imaginative, and dedicated work. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Feridun. Well done. Well, it's time now for Feridun and I to join the audience level in our seats because, of course, this is the moment when we will recognize the announcement and the 4 finalists for the celebration that we've been undertaking all year, combining the 60th anniversary of the university with Canada's 150th. So I'm very pleased now to invite to the stage the co-chairs of our Celebration 2017 Legacy Project, Jeff Casello and Peggy Jarvie.
Well, thank you very much, Sandra, and we are absolutely thrilled to be here. This has been just an incredible opportunity for us. As Sandra mentioned, this is 60 years for the University of Waterloo. It's 150 years for Canada, and it was the right time to ask, how can we leave a legacy in the center of our campus that reflects all the accomplishments of this university? And so collectively, we conceived of this project where we would engage students in the design of some legacy elements on the center part of the campus, in the area between modern languages, between the Arts Lecture Hall and Dana Porter Library. And this, for us, has been incredibly exciting to watch this process go. So what were the goals? Well, the first thing, as I said, was to leave a legacy for the university community. The second was to engage students. Many of you have seen that all of our presentations now around Executive Council begins with the iconic University of Waterloo sign at the entrance to campus. What you may not know is that also was a student design competition. So our student colleagues were actually the ones who conceived of that sign and brought it to campus. And so we built on that legacy by building this 60th anniversary legacy project. And it was a student engagement process in another way. The teams that were all competing had to be comprised of students from multiple faculties. So we broke down some faculty barriers to ensure that we had different perspectives on what design meant across the campus. And the last part was that you'll see throughout the process there was great engagement, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. Ultimately, what's going to happen? Well, the campus will be transformed, and there will be a team of students that today will see their design being realized and being built on the university campus in the next year or so. And today also, they will receive a fat check for $10,000. So that will be quite exciting. Peggy?
The project engaged a number of people, and I'll just second what Jeff said about how thrilling it was to be co-chairing this. It's been a ton of fun and a real opportunity to work with different groups of people from across the campus. As you can see from this list of the steering committee, we were able to represent students at both the undergrad and grad level, staff, faculty, alumni, and retirees. We started with a call for nominations in the Daily Bulletin in January. This group was formed shortly after and provided leadership direction and advised us a lot on campus engagement as well. This group also got to review the first couple dozen applications to get down to the shorter list of the 10 applications that would go through to the jury. Next slide, please. Should try that, maybe that'll work. Our jury was struck in the summer, and what we were looking for was a series of experts, including architecture, accessibility, and sustainability, as you can see from the people listed here, as well as representatives of other groups in the campus community, including an incoming student Leanna Seebach, who unfortunately isn't able to be here. She's a first-year art student, had another commitment this morning, and we thought it was appropriate and fun to bring in a student who will be here for the next several years and see this legacy project come to life and be able to support that. The role of the jury was to get from the top 10 to the top 4, and finally to the final design, which will be announced in a few minutes. There are quite a few of our jury and steering committee members here today. Before I ask them to stand, I also want to acknowledge and thank very much Kelly McManus and Cindy Chow, who from Community Relations actually made it possible for Jeff and I to co-chair this. So please join me in a big round of applause to the incredible time commitment and enthusiasm that our steering committee, jury members, and staff in Community Relations expended on this project. And will you all stand, please, those who were involved.
So the key to success for this project was obviously about outreach. How do we make sure that the community got engaged in the process? And we started it all the way back in January. We had an event at the Bomber. We brought out many students, and you could already get the sense of enthusiasm that was happening there. The Daily Bulletin was a common vehicle for us to update the community on what was happening, so I hope that you were able to follow those announcements. There was a day where we brought beaver tails to campus. Kelly planned that day when Peggy and I both were away because she knew that we would have positioned ourselves right at the front of the line. Instead, the lineup became filled with students, and so I think that was another successful opportunity. We also hope that you've had an opportunity to see the designs. They've been up around campus. They've been in Dana Porter Library. They've been in Hagee Hall. They've been available electronically on the Legacy 60 page for the entire time, so we hope you've had a chance to review. We did have comments all the way through the process, and it was great to get feedback and provide that feedback to our student groups. So where are we, and where have we been, and where are we going? Well, as I said, the project began all the way back at the beginning of the year. We had 23 teams. Those were whittled down to a top 10. The top 10 then from the jury were chosen to a top 4. The top 4 then submitted their final designs. And one thing that I really want to emphasize throughout this process is that we hope this was a learning experience for our students. After each iteration, we engaged all of the professional members of the university, whether it's plant operations, the School of Architecture, the School of Planning, and we brought those teams in and we had conversations with them. We gave them feedback on their designs. And the most important question were, are you having fun and are you learning something? And we often got positive results, positive answers to those questions, so it was fantastic. So what's going to happen next? Well, we're going to announce a winner in a couple of minutes. Yes, we're getting to that. But before that winning team's design actually gets built, there's actually more consultation to be done. And what's going to happen is the winning team will meet up with a local architect, Rima Masri, who is here today, who's going to support that team. She was also a member of our jury. She's going to help support that team as they coordinate with plant ops and with the university so that when the time comes, the construction plans really embody the students' design in a way that is both constructible but represents the legacy of the university. So we're really excited about not just getting to today, but what's going to happen from now until the final project. And the timeline is there for you. The consultation will happen in the beginning of the year. We expect an early spring construction season, and for fall of 2018, when students are returning to campus, the legacy elements will be present on campus. So we couldn't be more excited.
Even though we're announcing the final design this morning and the winner of this competition, we think it is important to acknowledge the extensive student engagement from across all faculties and all years of study. As we got to learn about the teams, we know that some were working on these designs from various parts across the country and the globe, thanks to co-op experiences throughout the year. Yay, co-op. Absolutely. We always have to get co-op in. As always, we are incredibly proud of our students for both their creativity in this case and their hard work and their collaboration across faculties. Whether they made it to the final design or not, how about a big round of applause for all of our student entrants?
And so the final 4 teams, we will introduce them here in order. So our first team is Team Fourth Company. This group, or Team Fourth Co., this group really looked at greening and creating a student space in the center of campus. The key element here was what we were calling a legacy, or a learning wall that represented all 6 faculties and the accomplishments of the university. Next is Team Interlace, that introduced a metaphor of connectivity about how the university made connections throughout the community, throughout the globe, and the education and the learning and its impact that had all around the world. Next was Team A and Q, who embodied the university's concept of innovation with a solar-driven student living room that you see there in the bottom right. Those panels were flexible and were receiving sunlight. And finally, Team Spatial Solutions, I like the Lou, very innovative repurposing of the entire center of campus to have a student study and play space. And so these are our final 4 teams. And let me just say one more thing about the process. I often say that my job is to spend time with the brightest 19 to 25-year-olds in the world. And if that doesn't get you excited and get you out of bed in the morning, then I think you've got the wrong job. And if you look at the innovation and the ingenuity and the excitement that these student teams have developed in these concepts, I mean, it's amazing. And if this, as I said, doesn't get you motivated to come to work, you might want to think about a new line of work. And along that line, let's learn a little bit more about these, about the students. We have a short video that represents from the students themselves that will give you a little bit more background.
Because we're a very diverse group. As we can tell, Nicole is very creative, and we have Kevin who really works hard on like the budgeting, and I like to look at the technical side, whereas Chris really knows how to put all the ideas together.
Our different backgrounds and fields of expertise have definitely played a role in this project. I like to think that our ties resulted in a successful project that has gotten this far. We hope our project will provide a space for more collaborations like ours to happen.
Legacy is such a large-scale project that will affect many students in the future. It's a space that all students will be using, and so it's impossible for one student to really make all of these important decisions for everyone. So teamwork was important because we could get all these different perspectives to compromise the best solution possible.
It was a great experience getting to work with students from different programs. We all came in with different skill sets and perspectives, and it was really interesting bringing those together to tackle the legacy project together.
To us, leaving a legacy on the university's 60th anniversary means creating a playful social atmosphere,
having an impact on a campus that's had a huge impact on me,
creating a student space designed by students,
leaving behind an innovative design that is accessible and sustainable for future generations,
and being famous.
Is it you, right?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think there's something else to be done, Peggy.
Over to me. All right. Again, a big congratulations to all of our teams, particularly the top 4. I'd now like to invite President Hamdullahpur to the stage to help us announce the winning concept. And now, the moment we have all been waiting for. May I have a drum roll, please? The winning team from math, science, and engineering is... You're clicking?
I'm clicking. I clicked.
Team Interlace.
Team Interlace.
And again, we have one student here from this 3-member team because the other 2 students are on co-op.
The president wants to know if he will get a check, and yes, you will. Team Interlace will get their prize officially. Thank you very much for all of you for joining us today. A very engaged audience here at Fed Hall. We've enjoyed knowing that others are with us in digital and social spaces. Thank you, Feridun, for the invitation and the opportunity to gather today. It truly is an exceptional experience in openness and dialogue at the University of Waterloo to have a sustained conversation with our president. Congratulations to all of our student finalists today. For those of you here, we do invite you to join us for lunch, which is now available. Please spend some time in conversation, getting to know your colleagues, and enjoy the rest of the afternoon. Thank you very much for being here.